Being a victim of abuse is one of the main ways demonic possession can occur. Just listen to this terrifying story from Father Lampert.
One of the exorcisms that I've done recently was a 50-year-old woman who told me that growing up in Mexico,
She was physically abused from the age of 7.
she's sharing the story with me and she's weeping, and she said it lasted for over a 5-year period. When she turned 12, her father then turned his attention to her younger sister. She's crying and she looks at me and says, "Can you help me?" And I looked at her and said, "Jesus is going to help you." Her eyeballs turned green, the pupils became slanted like a serpent, and this voice came out of, "He has no power over us."
Father Lampert rose from his chair and put his hand on the woman's head and began to pray for her.
The demon looked up at me with these green eyeballs and said, "You can't get rid of us. We've been here too long. You're not strong enough." And then I reached in my pocket and took out some holy water, and there was a shriek, and the demon collapsed to the ground and was begging me to stop praying and to stop using the holy water.
They sat the woman back in a chair and began performing an exorcism.
The chair flew back, hit the wall. The person came up out of the chair. There was a scream, and they collapsed on the floor. And then myself and the other priests lifted the person up, and this lady is beaming as bright as the sun, and every manifestation of evil was completely gone. How many times should you forgive somebody who hurts you? 7 times? Not 7 times, but 77 times, meaning don't even count.
People that don't forgive easily are open to being possessed. Send them this video to protect them from the devil.
We all deal with brokenness, but rather than giving in to bitterness and hatred and anger and revenge and all that ugliness, we should always seek forgiveness. Doesn't mean that it will be easy, doesn't mean that it will be instantaneous, but that's the path that we should always put ourselves on.
The best example of this is found in Scripture itself. A man is possessed by 2,000 demons. God drowns the demons in holy water, which exorcise the demons.
The man who's now free of legion wants to follow Jesus. He says, "No, go home to your family." A man that was living amongst the dead, Jesus wants to put back amongst the living. And in the world of exorcism, it was the brokenness within the family that eventually brought about the demonic possession. All magic is inherently evil. Reading your horoscope.
Here are 2 daily practices we all do that allow the devil to enter our lives.
Things may seem like they're entertaining, but that doesn't mean that the devil isn't using that in a very subtle way. I even mentioned the practice of knocking on wood. Has anybody ever knocked on wood? Do you know where the practice comes from? It's a Druid practice believing that spirits live in the trees. So when you knock on wood, you're asking the spirit that lives in the tree to come to your aid and to grant your request. But I just share that as an example of how things that have to do with the occult can become so mainstream that we don't even think about what they mean or what it is that we're doing.
All of these practices are condemned, and there's proof of this in the Bible.
We can even read in chapter 18 of the book of Deuteronomy, "You must never practice black magic, be a fortune teller, witch, or sorcerer. You must never cast spells, ask ghosts or spirits for help, or consult the dead."